I'd never given much thought to how I would die, but dying in the place of someone I love seems like a good way to go. Ah, Twilight.
Ooh.
Don't know if anyone got that.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, hi, welcome to Steph and Anja's Media Review, where we review literally anything,
Mm,
including the Twilight Saga, which is the
yeah,
level we have stooped to this week.
I'm a little scared.
Why?
I don't know. Twilight seems to be very heavy. There's a lot of fans out there. I'm afraid of them.
I was having a laugh with someone recently about how wild some of our episodes are. The previous episode was Despicable Me. This week we're doing Twilight.
That's true. Two very different ends of a spectrum.
Yeah, I don't know what that spectrum is, but
Mm,
it is a spectrum.
yes. Maybe it's a wheel. Maybe it's a wheel. And we're spinning round the
Yeah,
wheel.
yeah, like we're in a circus or something.
Maybe. I don't know.
Anyway, before we jump into a little bit of a plot summary, as we always do, Anya, what is your experience with the Twilight franchise? Did you watch any of the movies? Did you read the books? Or is it just something you were more aware of than anything else?
Yeah, so I was aware of Twilight for a very long time. I only watched the first movie last year, and it's the only movie I've seen of Twilight. Um, I've not read the books, but my mum is obsessed with the books. She loves
Oh,
them. Yeah, she loves them. She loved the movies. She loved the books. So, does that count?
yeah, yeah. Knowledge
Yeah,
by proxy.
exactly. How about you, Steph?
um, okay. So I, like you, was always kind of aware of Twilight as like a franchise.
Mm.
Um, but some secret lore about me is that at the age of 12, I had a vendetta against Twilight.
I love it.
um, because because at the time I was a massive Harry Potter fan. And obviously those two series at the time were kind of like top of the charts for
Mm,
people in that age demo, I guess. Maybe Twilight skewed slightly older. But
yeah.
there was a period of time where authors on fanfiction.net thought that Twilight would overtake Harry Potter in the number of stories written. And
Oh,
that
okay.
did not happen. But I remember being like oddly upset that if Twilight overtook it. Like, I think, to be honest, a lot of it was like a bit of internalized misogyny
Mm,
about like the books. Obviously, we'll get into it, but it's obviously a very female centric fan base. And I think that just wasn't for me at that point in time.
yeah.
So that probably had some part in it. But other than that, I've definitely seen the first movie. I may have seen the second movie, and I've not seen any of the others.
Mm,
Um, but I'm very aware of them. I guess.
yeah.
um,
There you go.
cool.
Hmm.
From here, should we do a little bit of a quick, very broad summary?
Yeah, that's probably
Obviously, we're not
good.
going to go too in depth on it
Mm,
because it is like a franchise. But basically, it takes place in Forks, Washington. You follow Bella Swan, who is a high school student who has just moved there to be with her father. And in this town, there are the Cullens, who are a quote unquote family of vampires, people who were turned into vampires in some shape or form. And honestly, the saga kind of follows Bella and Edward Cullen's little love story,
yeah.
toxic as it may be.
And
Um,
strange.
yes, yes. And as part of that, there are werewolves because, of
Yes.
course there are werewolves. Um, and, you know, obviously, I think maybe less so now, but I think definitely like as the movies were kind of coming out, um, there was a lot of like vampire versus werewolf, Team Edward versus Team Jacob,
Mm.
that kind of rhetoric. Um, did you have any thoughts or opinions or anything you wanted to share on that front?
Hmm. The Edward versus Jacob, I think
Mm,
this is kind of sidetracking a little bit, but I think it
of course.
heavily, like, obviously, like, there was fan fictions, but I think it heavily, heavily influenced, um, Wattpad stories. Don't
Yes.
know if you're ever across
Yes.
Wattpad stories, Steph, but
Yeah,
like the
yeah, yeah.
OG, not the fanfic ones, but like the original story ones. There was so many werewolf stories, vampire stories where they fight or where you're only on one side, and I feel like they're probably heavily influenced from Twilight.
Yes. I honestly, it wouldn't surprise me. Um, I think it's, you know, you can very easily tell, I think, with that era of stories
Mm,
that who was on Team Edward and who was on Team Jacob.
yep, exactly. I was on team no one, but
Yes, me too.
yes.
I was I was on Team Charlie, who is Bella's dad.
Oh, fair. Fair.
he he slays. What can I say?
There you go. Um, they kind of have a star-studded cast,
They
surprisingly,
actually do.
in the Twilight movies. Just
Yeah.
wanted to do a few little shout-outs to these actors.
Oh yeah.
Kristen Stewart, Bella Swan,
Of
Robert
course.
Pattinson as Edward Cullen, who Robert Pattinson has been in Harry Potter, he's Batman, he's a lot of things.
Yeah,
Made
he said it recently that he's still like a bit surprised that he has male fans now.
mm,
Like obviously with Batman, and then obviously he's done like a lot of other very, very weird, freaky projects since Twilight, I think in an attempt to maybe get away from that character.
yeah.
Um, but it did make me laugh seeing that quote of being like, yeah, I'm shocked that I have male fans now. It's weird. It's a new experience for me.
That's funny as.
Like, I bet it is.
Yeah. Taylor Lautner as Jacob Black. Now
Mm,
he is Shark
icon.
Boy, if anyone didn't know. that
Yes.
that
Oh, bless
helps.
him.
Yeah. Uh, Anna Kendrick, who plays this person named Jessica. Um,
She forgot she was in it.
yeah, she forgot she was in it, but Anna Kendrick's the one in Pitch Perfect. If people don't know her name, now Rami Malek is in it at some point. I don't know what movie he's in. I just know he's in it.
Oh my God.
And Rami
I didn't
Malek
know he was in it.
played Freddie Mercury in Bohemian Rhapsody, so big
Mhm.
name there. And he also featured in one of our other episodes when we did Until Dawn. He's one of the characters in
This
Until
is
Dawn.
true. And he is also, and this is where I know him from, Night at the Museum.
Oh yeah.
He's the Pharaoh in it. Which is anytime someone says Rami Malek, I'm like, oh yeah, that guy from Night at the Museum.
Oh
He
yeah,
has been
it's
in
fair.
so much since then.
That's so fair. And last person I wanted to name was Noel Fisher, who is in Shameless, Mickey and Shameless, and I love Shameless. I'm so bad with it. If I can't restart watching it because I get so obsessed with it. It's so bad. But yeah, he was one of my favorite characters in Shameless, and he's in Twilight. And maybe he's not so popular, but he's popular to me.
In your heart, he is.
Exactly. Ah,
Now, before we kind of get into the marketing, I wanted to share, I guess, some stats
ooh,
on this movie's performance because I think it kind of, at least like the franchise's performance as a whole, because I think it really underpins the marketing and some of the choices that are made for the second movie onwards.
yeah,
I think less so for the first movie because, as I'll kind of get into, it was not a huge budget for
yeah,
a movie like this. And the fact that it did well is pretty, it's pretty amazing, not gonna lie. I'm just
yeah.
gonna read it off. Um, so firstly, Um, 80% of the audience for the first movie were women, to such a degree that if not even a single man had bought a ticket for, oh, sorry, this is for New Moon, so this is the second one.
Yeah.
That if not even like a single man had bought a ticket, it still would have had the biggest opening weekend of 2009, which I think is
Wow.
crazy because it's like, I think that alone really shows like that female led, not just female led movies, but movies with female fan bases can do well.
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of unheard of at the time. I think a lot of the time, blockbusters, you look back, you're seeing like the start of the superhero franchises. You've got Harry Potter, you've got a lot of like big, big movies that are all
Mm.
male led. And here comes Twilight, like it's all women,
Yep.
and targeted mainly towards women, specifically concerning the narrative journey of like women and specifically like teenage girls.
Yeah.
Let's see, there was another, apologies, I'm just trying to find my little notes. But yeah, I believe the budget was not huge and it made $191 million back, the first
Wow.
movie.
Wow.
Apologies, I am just trying to find how much it costs. I did have it written down. Here we go. So the first movie only cost $37 million. But as
Wow.
I said, it made $191 million. So that's a huge profit margin
Yeah.
for a movie that ultimately you look at some of like the modern day film budgets and they're like $200 million plus.
Mm.
That's not a huge budget.
Not at all.
And then you look at New Moon, which it did have a bit of extra budget behind it at $50 million, but it ended up making $296 million, and that's just domestic. So that's just US only. And it made $709 million worldwide,
Oof.
which is wild. And then some notes about the studio. So it was made by Summit Studios after a deal with Paramount fell through. The first movie was directed by a woman named Catherine Hardwicke, and I actually personally believe that that is why that first movie succeeded, is because it was directed by a woman. So it was a bit more, I don't want to use the term like female gaze because that's not really a thing.
Yeah.
But it was catering to women.
Mm.
I mean, even here, it's like people were seeing it with their daughters, with their mothers, with their friends. It wasn't, and people were seeing it with their boyfriends as well, like taking their partners to it.
Yeah.
So all this to say is the marketing was very, very much made to cater to those teenage girls, to those women who were investing so heavily, so much of their personal time and energy into it.
Mm. Yeah.
So I found that to be like quite interesting. Be curious to know what you thought, if you have anything to kind of add to that.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that stood out me to the most, like stood out to me the most was it was on fandango.com. Sorry, I
Okay.
butchered that. I don't remember. I didn't write down what movie it was for. I think it was either the first or the second. But it said
Hmm.
83% of moviegoers plan to see the film again, like at the movies, and I thought that was crazy, like
Wow.
that kind of stat. Like I know that's
Yeah,
not like they're taking that as like a survey, so it's not every moviegoer, but to have
for sure.
statistics still that high is, I think, very impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's also very telling about the people who are going to watch it. I
Mm.
found an article in The Guardian um, that kind of shows that like these are engaged fans, these women, these girls, they are actively engaged with the fan base, and in fan spaces, you know, they get really involved. They were seeing, obviously, as you said, seeing the films again and again.
Mm.
And then they went home and they bought the DVDs and were watching them again that way. And, you know, as part of that, 56%, I think, plan to see the films with friends, and 24% plan to see it with like mums and daughters. Like,
Mm.
that's, I think, it's almost like a community in a kind of way. And I feel like we don't really see that very often in, I guess, really any kind of media these days. I can't think
Yeah.
of the last like movie that brought like such a specific um, demographic together.
Yeah, I'd say you're right.
So I feel like, you know, superhero movies were kind of that for a while,
Mm.
but it wasn't so specific to like, I don't know, a general age demo or a gender even. Like that was pretty
Yeah.
broad.
Yeah.
Twilight's something a bit more specific, I think.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to make some more notes on like what people, how, I guess more like on fan behavior after seeing the movies.
Yeah.
Because I think it's worth mentioning it is like kind of a word of mouth part of marketing. It
Yeah.
helped the hype grow for future movies. Um, you know, they don't just watch films, they were posting about it on social media at a time where social media was still very much kind of in its infancy. Um, they would create blogs about them. Shout out to Tumblr. Like,
Yeah.
they got tattoos. They, all this to say, we kind of marketed the film to each other.
Yeah.
Um, and you know, it wasn't even just like teenage girls. It was like this article references like emo people. Like that was a demographic that felt really seen by this franchise. So
Oh yeah.
I think all of this to say is that like advertisers found like a really sweet spot with you know, putting out merchandise and like insider information on future movies. And I think the filmmakers themselves were able to adjust future movies as well, you know,
Mm.
keeping in mind that boyfriends and partners are going to be dragged along to see this. So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, do we make it more action heavy, like that kind of thinking? So kind of an ecosystem if you think about it.
Yeah. And I mean, word of mouth for this franchise as a whole, including the books, has played such a major
Mm,
role. I mean, the books got popular through word of mouth. There was really nothing else. And then moving into the movies, like the first movie came out, everyone's talking about it, everyone's taking their friends to go see it. But as it progressed, like the fandom started fighting. And if that's not word of
mm,
mouth, I don't know what is. Because
it's engaging.
there was a team Edward and a team Jacob, and they were fighting. And I even remember seeing like compilations on YouTube when I was younger of like all these team Edward, team Jacob things. And I remember like there was this high schooler who made a duct tape dress that was half Edward, half Jacob for her prom. I know
Oh
that's
my
very
god,
specific, but I remember
so
that.
specific. I love it.
um, but I just wanted to mention like the how that it's just this franchise has like thrived off its fans continually talking about it, making fan fictions, making blogs, all over social media, just
Mm,
always having something new to say about it. I mean,
totally.
Twilight's made some more movies come out that are like fanfics of Twilight as well. So I thought that's a little crazy too.
Yeah, I mean, outside of word of mouth, there was obviously also like a lot of product placement, a lot of, I guess, traditional types of advertising used across the franchise.
Mm.
One I was very, very excited to see that I kind of already knew about, but like didn't know much about was Volvo had a partnership, the car brand.
Yeah.
Um, which I was super, super interested in. Um, because it was like an ongoing partnership. So even from like the first movie, they basically signed on to be an ongoing partner.
Hmm.
It basically positions its XC60 model as the car of choice, I guess,
Oh
for
yeah.
Edward. So, you know, being a leading character, that obviously puts it in like a good light. And it was an authentic partnership because in the original books, Edward drove a Volvo S30, which is
Oh,
kind of like a fun little like reference. So it made sense. It wasn't an out of place product placement.
that's good.
Um, and then off the back of that first movie, Volvo saw sales of the S30 model increase. And so following this, they developed a TV and digital based strategy for the XC60 to help sales across this new model as well. For the release of the next movie, so New Moon, they actually launched a specific landing page that offered fans the chance to attend the premiere, meet the cast, and or win the car. So, you know, I feel like competition, especially with a fan base, as we've kind of already mentioned, that's so engaged
Mm.
with all aspects of the franchise, I think that would have really excited people.
Yeah.
And apparently, parents ended up coming to like showrooms after the release of New Moon to photograph like their kids in quote unquote the Twilight car,
Oh
which I
wow.
was like, that's kind of dire. That's kind of
Yeah.
sad. But
Yeah.
you know what? It was the times. And then for Eclipse, Volvo created some TV and digital ads using clips from the film, as well as like flashes of the car. So integrating the car as a part of the movie rather than it being kind of its own thing.
Yeah.
For this campaign, they also drove users to a website where it was actually like a bit of gamification. They could
Okay.
drive an XC60 through Forks, so through the town. And apparently, like, according to the project manager at Volvo, um, the fact that fans are too young to drive is not viewed as a problem because in a few years' time, they will be our potential customers, which
That's
I
true.
did have a bit of a laugh at because I was like, yeah, fair enough.
Not wrong.
Um, but it's not the first time a franchise has done something similar to that. James Cameron's Avatar, so like the not the last Airbender, the other Avatar, the
Yes.
highest grossing movie, had a tie-in with Honda, which was kind of an interesting one because it did like a similar thing where it was integrated into the movie itself.
Mm.
A similar brand, just going back to Twilight, obviously, was Samsung, that used Twilight as kind of an integration for its products. It used the Twilight films to target hard to reach teenagers on subjects such as road safety, um, which I found to be quite interesting,
Yeah.
given it's like Samsung's all tech based. And Wrigley's, which is like a chewing gum company, um, it launched a new thing of chewing gum during New
Oh.
Moon, which I was like, it's a bit of a random one, but I guess I wanted to read a quote from which is the source? This woman who's an associate investment director at a media agency.
Mm.
I'm going to just read off what she said. She said, Twilight is a phenomenon in terms of the audience size it attracts and the way fans relate to it. Now that Hollywood consistently delivers good quality sequels, it's a great marketing environment, which I think sums up like a lot of the product placement used in Twilight. It's a portfolio almost where
Yeah.
you sign on at the start and you kind of follow it through to the end,
Yeah.
which is a bit of a risk if you think about it, because you have to hope that that first movie does really well and that
Yeah.
people keep coming back to see sequels. So
Mm.
yeah, that's those were kind of the big product things that I found.
Yeah, that was cool. I liked that one. I was gonna say, Burger King and Nordstrom were also partners of
Mm.
Twilight. I don't have the details on what they did, but thought I'd mention.
I feel like, I mean, I don't know what Nordstrom is, but I feel like Burger King, it's like, it's set in the US, like this little like town in America. It kind of makes
Mm,
sense, I
yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's about all I had for marketing.
I have
If you had
one.
anything else?
Yeah. One last little thing I have is the mobile games.
Mhm.
So there was two.
Ooh,
The Twilight Saga Eclipse movie game and the Twilight Saga Memory Quest. Two mobile
okay,
games they
okay,
released. Don't have any
sure.
details on them besides their titles, but they made those.
Alrighty, well, if there's nothing else, guys, I have a very exciting thing for you.
Ooh.
It's been a few weeks. It's been some time since we've done this segment.
Yeah.
It's time for fan fiction.
Fan fiction.
Um, for those who have only recently started listening, this is the segment where one of us will bring a fanfic to the table. We will basically read off the details,
Mm.
and then summarize the fic and give some explanation as to why this was chosen.
Yep.
Um, this is a bit of a random one. I'm not gonna lie,
I love it.
um, because the way I go looking for these fanfics is we want quality. So I
Yes.
always search by most cutest and then go down the list and
Yeah.
try and get like a one shot or something.
Yeah.
And first of all, there are a lot of Harry Potter crossovers
I
that
expect
are
that.
in in yeah, yeah.
Mm.
I think it makes sense, but they're also like the most cutest fics, which I was like, that's a bit random. And I stumbled on this one. I don't know if you've had a look at it yet, Anja. It's very random. I was like,
Yeah.
this pairing. But it's not. I saw this pairing maybe 5 times on the first page. I didn't scroll to like the second page of search results. I
Mm.
saw this one a lot. It's a bit odd. So
Yeah.
let me give you some context, guys. So this is a Twilight / Harry Potter crossover, obviously. The relationship is Harry Potter and Charlie Swan, who is Bella's dad.
It's a strange one.
It's a bit of a weird one. The character tags are Charlie Swan, Bella Swan, Harry Potter, and Teddy Lupin, who is Harry Potter's godson, for those who don't know who that is.
Mm.
The additional tags are fluff, domestic fluff, misunderstandings, first dates, POV Charlie Swan, getting together, romance, eventual romance, Bella Swan is a good daughter, one shot, Harry Potter is confused, Bella Swan is confused, Charlie Swan is confused, Teddy Lupin is adorable. This one, it caught my eye because it was added to a lot of people's collections,
Right.
and it's saying that it's quite good. So I was like, huh, let me investigate further. It is called Adorable Oblivious Idiots by Jesselyn Michelle.
Hmm.
I'm assuming that that is how you pronounce that name.
Yeah.
And the summary is as follows. Charlie is sick of seeing Bella moping after Edward Cullen, so he does what any good dad does and tries to set her up with the handsome, charming, thoughtful, responsible, and sweet newest officer on the Forks Police Department, Harry Potter. To say Bella is confused by this choice is an understatement. Basically, it is exactly what it says on the tin.
Yeah.
Charlie Swan tries to set Harry Potter up with his daughter, But throughout the fic, it becomes very apparent that he and Charlie, they get on.
Yeah.
They have a bit of chemistry there, to the degree where at the end of the fic, Charlie, who is not told Harry Potter that that he was invited there as like a date for Bella.
Mm.
Harry gets upset, and Bella is also confused because she thinks that Harry is Charlie's boyfriend. But Charlie does not realize. This man has not realized.
I love it.
I will say, look, the age gap is squicking me out a bit, but I think it's a well-written story that I'm kind of willing to look past it a little bit because
Fair
it
enough.
is kind of a fun premise.
Mm.
And you know what? I feel like it's in character. Harry Potter, yeah, he can be on the Forks Police Department. Why
Makes
not?
sense. Makes sense.
Why not? Yeah, yeah. Anyway, it was just like a cute, low stakes little story. So I
Oh,
thought that was a nice one to bring to the table.
I love it. And I love the little, this is such a throwback, but back in our very old episodes, and we haven't done it in such a long time,
Yeah,
was
I
we would
know.
try to find fics that crossed over with Harry Potter, and it's been so long, but we finally have one.
We found our way back home.
Yay! That's so good.
And as like a little surprise, as a little treat for everyone,
Ooh.
I also have prepared some letterboxed reviews because I
Yes!
was like, Twilight, I think, is popular. Wow, that was very American.
That
Popular.
was popular.
It's popular enough that it will have a lot of fics and will have a lot of reviews. So this is gonna be, this doesn't have to be like a traditional guess the letterboxed rating.
Yeah.
Unless you want it to be.
I don't mind.
You can guess.
Okay.
I'll let you
I'll
guess.
guess. I'll
They're
guess.
kind of fun. Okay. This is the first one from number one Gizmo fan.
Nice.
My mum forced me to watch this and then quoted the entire thing and then started crying because she didn't have someone like Edward, and I told her that their relationship was actually really abusive. And she said, quote, "Sweetie, I know. Me and your dad got divorced because of this movie. And now she's running around the house looking for something to eat. Please save me." How many stars do you reckon they gave this movie?
1.5 stars with extra trauma.
Well, you would be surprised to know, Anya, that
Yeah.
this was given 4 stars.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't have the vibe of 4-star rating out of
No.
5, but it sure does.
There you go.
Alrighty. Next review. I've got 99 problems with this movie, but the supermassive black hole baseball scene ain't one.
Fair. That's okay. 3 stars.
Close. I'll give it to you. It's 2.5 stars. Okay. This next one. This is the most. Oh, sorry. Let me go again. This is one of the most unintentionally funny movies of all time.
Ooh. Unintentionally like is bad. 2.5 stars.
Oh my god. So close. It was 3 stars.
Oh no.
Swap those other ones around.
Then I'll be set.
Yep. Okay, I'll do 2 more.
Okay.
This next one. Robert Pattinson wasn't acting. That's just how he is in real life.
Is he always that pale or
And sparkly?
right? 3? I have no idea.
Yeah, you got it.
Yes! Yay!
3 stars. And okay, let me pick pick a big one, pick a good one.
Alrighty.
Um, oh yeah, this is the one we're gonna end it on. This is perfect. Okay. Anyone who was Team Jacob is a furry now.
4 stars?
Dude, you got it. That is a
Yes!
4-star review.
That's so funny.
Excellent work. Excellent work.
Yay! I love
I
it.
did wanna do, some of the other ones, but I was like, "Oh, there's such, like, references to the movie," and I was like,
Mm.
"No, I
Yeah,
don't.
I would not get
You don't need
them.
to go that far."
Yeah.
But, yeah, that was, guess the letterboxd ratings. Thanks for playing.
Thank you for having me. I guess we should probably jump into some final thoughts then. Maybe if you want to
Mhm.
start, Steph.
Sure thing. Um, I think for me, I feel like Twilight just exists eternally in pop culture.
Mm.
But it was, like, really interesting to do a bit of a deep dive on, I guess, the overall success of this as a franchise, plus also, like, the fact that having women as such a big part of the target audience and the actual audience, um, I didn't really know that it was such like to such a degree,
Mm.
how invested like women and teenage girls were. So that was like really, really fascinating to me personally.
There you go. I kind of like a similar, not stance, but like kind of think similarly. Like Twilight's always just like there. It's always
Mm-mm.
around, and I kind of notice it sometimes. I'm like, oh, Twilight.
Oh.
No, but it's had such a grip on people, especially like our demographic stuff. Like,
Yes.
has had such a death grip, and it just shows that like a story that people can kind of escape in, like it really does wonders. And I think this is just one of those stories where our demo just can latch onto, can obsess about, but like it
Mm.
doesn't harm anyone. So, and it shows like they marketed the right way in the following movies after the first one, like kept targeting the right demo and, you know, adding on to it, trying to reach more people. I don't know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And obviously, like, I think, I mean, we didn't really touch on this because it didn't really have much to do with the marketing, but
Mm,
obviously there are kind of just a few like actual critiques, I think, of the franchise and like handling of certain characters. I think one thing that I remember was like discussions on like handling of Native American characters,
mm,
which we're obviously like not super qualified to talk about, but it is something I wanted to kind of address. Like, obviously, I think if you can critique any kind of media, it shows that that you have a degree of media literacy,
mm.
and I think that's important, especially like in this day and age.
Yeah.
I think it's important to think about what you're consuming, and yeah, just something I wanted to kind of address in case people were like, "Oh, you just talked about like the women part of the franchise."
Yeah.
Not that I think our listeners would, but just
Yeah.
just as an FYI, we're aware.
There you go. But I think that does wrap us up for this episode. So, I hope everyone here enjoyed. If you did, if you could leave a like, a comment, subscribe, follow, rate, would love it. Would love your support. Yeah, chuck a comment in the comment section. If you have something to say, a recommendation, what you thought about the episode, anything to add, we'd love to hear it. And we also have a TikTok and an Instagram with some funny videos on there. Steph and Anja's Me Review, all one word. And I think that's it.
And if nothing else, outro.